Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. This is part 3 of 4 in the 2022-23 college basketball season predictions show. This part is just going to be the rest of the 22 conferences, the mid-majors. Just going to go through my projected standings. Not going to do players of the year and such because we don't cover these teams very often on the show, but I will do a bold prediction for the mid-majors at the end of this part. So we'll start in the America East. In first place, I have Vermont. Vermont's been the gift that keeps on giving with their success. They have two great players in Dylan Penn and Finn Sullivan. In second, I have Bryant. Bryant comes over from the NEC. I think that this is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the league for the next several years. Charles Pride and Earl Timberlake lead that squad. In third, I have UMass Lowell. I think they'll be better. Max Brooks leads that team. Fourth, I have UMBC. This is not the same UMBC that made the tournament and upset Virginia. That's going to be 5 years this March, amazingly enough. But they're still in this conference. Fifth, I have Binghamton. They're led by senior guard Jacob Falco. Sixth, I have Albany. Albany's no good. Seventh, New Hampshire. They're taking a big free fall. Eighth, NJIT. And ninth, Maine. They're always in the cellar. Next up, I have the Atlantic Sun, which is a league that has produced some decent teams. Over the past several years. And the team that leads the way yet again is Liberty, who has always been a very good team over the past several years, led by Darius McGee. He's a joy to watch each and every year on this team, and he just came back, which is awesome for this program. Coming in second, I have Jacksonville State. Jacksonville, not Jacksonville State. I think Jacksonville State is a solid team. They're led by Kevion Nolan. And they have a chance to knock off Liberty, I'd say. Third, I have Jacksonville State. I just read the wrong Jacksonville school. They're in their third year in this conference already, which is crazy. They're going to be a force in this conference for sure, I'd say. Fourth, I have Florida Gulf Coast. Everybody knows this program as Dunk City from when they upset Georgetown in the tournament all the way back in 2013. That's going to be 10 years coming up in March, which is crazy. They're led by junior guard Chase Johnston. Coming in fifth, I have North Florida. North Florida's been a contender in this league a few times over the last decade or so. They're led by Carter Hendrickson and Jose Placer. Coming in sixth, I have Lipscomb. They have a dominant center in Ashan Asadullah. In seventh, I have Kennesaw State. They're like feast or famine. They're more of like a bottom feeder, but I think they're going to be improved. I like their junior guard, Chris Youngblood. Coming in eighth, I have Bellarmine. Justin Betts is a brilliant defensive player. They're going to be a good defensive team. Number 9, I have Austin Peay. Austin Peay comes over from the OVC. I think they're going to be a force within the next several years, but just not this year. 10th, I have Eastern Kentucky. They have a good young forward, Michael Moreno. 11th, I have Stetson. They're a bottom feeder every year in this conference. 12th, I have Central Arkansas. They do have a nice young guard, Cameron Hunter. but so they might finish higher than I think. 13th, new Division 1 team, Queens. Yes, Queens. I don't think they're going to be any good this year, but I think down the road this could be a future power in the Atlantic Sun to go with Liberty and the Jacksonville schools, and then potentially Austin Peay down the road. And in the cellar, I have North Alabama, who's usually terrible. Next up, I have the Big Sky. The Big Sky is a very interesting league, to say the least. My winner of this league is Montana State. I think Montana State is a great team. They have a lot of talent. So to me, there's no doubt about it. The team to beat in the Big Sky. Jabril Bello is a player to watch. He's the best player in the conference. Coming in second, Montana, the Grizzlies of Montana. I think they're going to be pretty good. They bring back two important players in Josh Bannon and Brandon Whitney. Coming in third, I have Northern Colorado. I don't like this team as much as others do. They have a good scorer in Dylan Kuntz. Fourth, I have Weber State, who's usually a contender in this league. But I think they take a little bit of a step backwards. Dylan Jones, double-double guy that they have coming back. Fifth, I have Eastern Washington. We've seen this team in the tournament before. They have a good 1-2 punch in Steel Vendors and Ethan Price. Sixth, Sacramento State. This is usually a bottom feeder in this league, but I think that they're going to be better. They have a new coach. In seventh, I have Portland State, who's usually a bottom feeder in this league too. Eighth, Northern Arizona, who I thought about picking last in this league. They have a good scorer, though, in Jalen Cone. And good transfer player. Ninth, I have Idaho. They're terrible. And in the bottom, Idaho State, although they do have a good transfer from BYU, Colby Lee. All right, the Big South. The Big South is an interesting conference. I think that there's a lot of potential in this league. Oh, wait a minute. Did I skip a team in the Big Sky? Did I skip Southern Utah? Yes, I did skip Southern Utah. I would pick them. I forgot about Southern Utah. That's my mistake, guys. So, where would I put them? Oh, wait, they did move conferences. They're just, not in here. That's my mistake. Alright. So let's get back to the Big South like I thought. Alright. So, Big South. In first, I have Longwood. Preseason favorites for a reason. They're loaded. They have a ton of talent. Brings back a couple of big players for them. Second, I have Winthrop. This is usually a contender every year. They'll still be a contender. They lose DJ Burns. That's a big loss. Third, I have UNC Asheville. Asheville, I think, can surprise here. Drew Pembler's a really good player for them. Could be the Big South Player of the Year. Fourth, I'm going to go with Gardner Webb. I think that they're a sleeper in this league. Really good defensive team. Fifth, Campbell. They're usually a contender in this league. They're deep in terms of players, but doesn't have an elite scorer per se. Sixth, I have High Point. People are high on this team, no pun intended, the last couple of years. Tubby Smith is gone, and his son Gigi is now the coach. Seventh, Radford. If I'm not mistaken, they're in the Big South title game either last year or the year before. Brian Antoine, the former 5-star from Nova, is now on Radford. Eighth, I have USD Upstate. They're actually in the playoffs, or in the postseason last year. Jordan Gainey's a good player for them. Ninth, Charleston Southern. Not a good team. And in the bottom, Presbyterian. They're usually the bottom feeders each and every year in college hoops. Next up is the Big West. Interesting league. I think it's a better league than given credit for. My pick to win the league, I'm going to go with UC Santa Barbara. Very talented team, led by Andre Kelly, the grad forward, and AJ Mitchell. Second, I have Hawaii, who I think is going to be an improved team this year, led by Noel Coleman. Coming in third, I have Long Beach State. Pretty good team, too, led by senior guard Joel Murray. Coming in fourth, UC Irvine. They're usually the perennial team in the sport in this league, but I think they take a little bit of a step back because Colin Welp's gone. In fifth, I have UC Davis. UC Davis, I think, could be better than expected. Elijah Pepper's their best player. Coming in sixth, I have UC Riverside. They won't be bad. Zion Poland's not a bad player. He'll keep them relevant in games and such. Coming in seventh, I have Cal State Fullerton. Fullerton's usually a bottom feeder in this league. Veteran-laden team. Eighth, I have Cal State Bakersfield. They've won the league a couple times over the last decade. Caleb Higgins and Cam Smith coming back for that team. Ninth, I have Cal Poly. Cal Poly is usually a bottom feeder. Almai Kimura comes back for them. In 10th, I have UC San Diego. Still new to Division I. And in the cellar, I have Cal State Northridge, who I think is easily the worst team in this conference. Next up, the Colonial Athletic Association. This is a decent conference. I actually like this conference a lot. And winning this league, I have Towson. I think Towson is a dark horse candidate to be an at-large team. A super talented team. They have a lot of talent. Cam Holden, Charles Thompson, Nicholas Timberlake. Coming in second, I have Delaware. I think this Delaware team is going to be really good. Jameer Nelson Jr., Jair Davis. Names to know there. Third, I have Hofstra. They're a perennial contender in this league usually. They have some talented players. Aaron Estrada among them. In fourth, I have Charleston. I think Charleston's going to be around in this conference. Rain Smith is a name to know, and Ben Burtham. In fifth, I have UNC Wilmington. This team surprised a lot of people last year. I don't think they're going to be as good. They have a good senior guard in Shaquem Phillips. In sixth, I have Drexel. Drexel's a feast or famine team to me. They were bad. Now they're relevant. Now they're just a blah team. Amari Williams is back for them. Coming in seventh, I have Northeastern. They probably have the best coach in the conference in Bill Cohn. He gets his teams to overachieve a lot, but I don't think they're going to be as good as some may think. They have a good guard in Jamil Tefelt, a junior. Coming in eighth, I have William and Mary. They could be better than I think. Ben White's a good forward. They have ninth, Stony Brook. They come from America East. It's going to be time for them to adjust in this conference. Ninth, Stony Brook. 10th, I have Monmouth. It's going to take them a lot of time to adjust in this conference. King Rice is a really good coach at Monmouth. Surprised he doesn't have a better job yet, because he's one hell of a basketball coach. 11th, NCNAT. They come over from the Big South. It's going to take them some time. They do have a good forward in Marcus Watson. 12th, Alon's no good. And then 13th is Hampton, who isn't great shakes either. Next up is Conference USA, which I think is a very top-heavy league and has a lot of talent and really has a chance to have some at-large teams, believe it or not. So, in first place in this conference, I am going with the Blazers of UAB. I love Jordan Walker. I think he's the favorite for the Player of the Year award in the conference. They also have Eric Gaines on their team. Coming in second, I have North Texas. I think they have a chance to win this conference too. I like Tyler Perry, the senior guard. Third, I have Western Kentucky. This team's absolutely loaded too. This is a really good top three in this league. It wouldn't surprise me if any of these three teams finishes in first. They have Emmanuel Acott, Davion McKnight, and Jamarian Sharp. Fourth, FAU. I think FAU has a chance to be better than some may expect. I think that they have a chance to surprise some folks. In fifth, I have Middle Tennessee. They're a team that obviously upset Michigan State, but that was a long time ago. They have a good sophomore guard in Tafel Leonard Jr. Sixth, I have Louisiana Tech. I wouldn't be shocked if they finished in the top 5. I do like their junior guard, Kobe Williams. Seventh, I have Rice. Quincy Oliveri is a solid player. He'll keep them in games. Eighth, Charlotte. Just a blah program for me. Very, stuck at either mediocrity or in the bottom of that league. Where did I leave off? Ninth, I have UTEP. To me, they're no great shakes. 10th, FIU. And 11, I got UTSA. All right, so that I think is going to be a very good conference. Now I'm going to move on to the Horizon League. This league is very weak compared to what it was a while ago. My pick to win this league, I'm going to go with somebody different than you may expect. I'm going to go with Northern Kentucky. I do think that they have some solid players in Sam Vincent and Marquez Warwick. And I think they barely edge out my number 2 team, that's Purdue Fort Wayne. That's, I think, a little bit of an overhyped team. Jared Goffrey's a really solid player. In third, I have Wright State. I thought about picking Wright State, but I decided not to. I just think that Northern Kentucky has more depth than them. Wright State brings back Trey Calvin and Amari Davis. Coming in fourth, I have Oakland. Oakland surprised some folks last year. They have a good player in Jalen Moore coming back. Fifth, Youngstown State. They have a good guy coming back in Dwayne Cohill. Sixth, Detroit Mercy, who probably has the best player in the conference in Antoine Davis. If you're making a case for Detroit Mercy, there you go. Seventh, Cleveland State. I just don't think that that's a program in great shakes. Eighth, newbie to the Horizon League, Robert Morris. Ninth, Milwaukee, who badly underachieved last year. 10th, Green Bay. And in dead last, of course, IUPUI. All right, now the MAC, the Mid-American Conference MAC. And I think that is a sneakily better league than some may expect. In first, in this league, I'm going with the Rockets of Toledo. I think this Toledo team is going to be pretty good. I think they're deep. They're led by JT Shoemate and Cedric Milner Jr. Coming in second, I have Kent State, who was the preseason poll pick. They have some good players in Sincere Carey and Malik Jacobs. Third, I have Akron. They have some talent in Enrique Freeman and Xavier Castadena. Fourth, Ball State. Ball State might not be bad. They're led by sophomore big man Peyton Sparks. Coming fifth, I have Ohio. This Ohio team is pretty interesting. I think that Ohio could surprise some people. Jeff Bowles isn't a bad coach. They did lose a lot of talent, though. Sixth, Buffalo. Buffalo's usually a contender in this league, but they have a lot of turnover. Seventh, Eastern Michigan. They do have Amani Bates coming in, so maybe they're better than expected. Obviously, the former transfer from Memphis. Eighth, Western Michigan, they have a good player, Lamar Norman Jr. In ninth, Bowling Green. Bowling Green is like feast or famine in this league. In 10th, I have Miami of Ohio. Another program that is interesting. Travis Steele takes over this program, so maybe they're better than expected. 11th, Central Michigan. They're never good. And then in the cellar, a team that I feel like is in the cellar of this league all the time in college hoops, Northern Illinois. And now the MAC, the Metro Atlantic MAC. So a lot to get to with this league. So some turnover in this league too. No more Monmouth. Obviously, Mount St. Mary's is in this league now. So I have winning this league Iona. Obviously, Rick Pitino is probably the best coach in this conference. Nelly Jr. Joseph, really good player. Walter Clayton Jr., good player. He just gets them the buy-in and day out. Coming in second, Ryder. I like this Ryder team a lot. Dwight Murray Jr., really good player, coming back. And Mervyn James and Alan Powell, so deep team. Third, Manhattan. A lot of turmoil with Manhattan. I was going to pick them second, but I didn't because Steve Masiello was fired before the season, which you don't see in college basketball very often. And their best player, Jose Perez, is in the transfer portal. So messy there in Manhattan. They still got Ant Nelson, though. Fourth, Fairfield. I don't think Fairfield's bad. They have a couple good players, Supreme Cook and Jake Wojcik. Coming in fifth, I have Quinnipiac. This Quinnipiac team, I think, is solid, led by Matt Belanc and Desi Jones. Coming in sixth, Siena. I think Siena could be a little better than given credit for. They have a good grad player in Jackson Stormo. Coming in seventh, St. Peter's. Obviously, giant rip to the team that made the Elite Eight last year. And that program has every right to be proud of that. And it was just an amazing run. Obviously, their coach has now gone to Seton Hall. They lost a ton of players from their team. And now they really don't have anybody coming back. So that is really sad for a school that we all rooted for as the run went on. Eighth, Marist. Now I should say about Marist. Ninth, Niagara. Niagara actually has a good senior player, Noah Thomason, so they might be a little better than we think. 10th, Canisius. Canisius is usually a cellar dweller. And then the cellar of Mount St. Mary's. But I just don't think that Mount St. Mary's is going to be mentally ready for their transition year. Jalen Benjamin's a good player for them. Okay, next up is the MEAC. MEAC's an interesting league. But there's a beast of this league every year, and it's Norfolk State. They're the beast keeps on giving in this league. Chris Bankston and Joe Bryant are really good players on this team. As is Dana Tate. Second, I have NC Central. NC Central has spoiled the party sometimes, too. Justin Wright's not a bad player. Eric Boone, Chris Monroe. So they got talent. Third place, I have Howard. Elijah Hawkins. Steve Steele's the third. Fourth, Morgan State. Interesting team. Malik Miller's a decent player. Coming in fifth, Coppin State. They have a really good junior guard in Nenda Tark, so they might be better than some expect. Sixth, I have UMass, Maryland Eastern Shore, who caught some people by surprise last year. Deshaun Phillip, solid player. Nathaniel Pollard Jr., solid player for them. Seventh, Delaware State. Did not go winless in conference last year, as I heard the Three Man Wave podcast point out. They have a good player in Corey Perkins, and in the Sellers, South Carolina State. Their best player is Rashawn Edwards. So maybe he keeps them from being winless in the conference, as the same fella on that show said. Alrighty. Next up is the Missouri Valley Conference. Okay, the Missouri Valley, first Drake, second year in a row, where they're the overwhelming preseason favorite. They have some good players. Tucker Daveries and Roman Penn leading the way, coming in second. Bradley. Bradley's been a contender in this league for a couple of years now. Rink Most leads the way for them. Third, Southern Illinois. I don't think they're going to be a bad team. They have Marcus Domask. Coming in fourth, I have Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa is a perennial contender in this league. So I think that they'll be relevant. Fifth, Missouri State. They have some talent as well. Sixth, Belmont, who comes over from the OVC. Ben Shepherd's still there. Seventh, Indiana State. I don't think Indiana State's that bad of a team. They bring in some transfers who I think will help them. Eighth, Murray State. Murray State obviously coming over from the OVC as well. Steve Prohm's back at Murray State. Ninth, Valparaiso. They really haven't made a name for themselves in the Missouri Valley yet since coming over from Horizon. 10th, Illinois State. I don't think they're very good. Although, they were good a couple years ago. 11th, UIC. They're bad. And at the bottom, Evansville. They've been bad for a couple of years now. Have a lot of transfers coming in. Next up, the NEC. I think they are a league that is weak. Finishing first in the league, but they're not going to make the tournament because of transfer from Division 2 to Division 1. That's Merrimack, who has some talent. Jordan Meyer, Ziggy Reader, good players for them. Coming in second, and I have them making the tournament, Sacred Heart, because of them becoming the second place team. So let's say they pick off Merrimack in the title game. Bryce Johnson, Nico Gillette, two good players for them. Third, I have Wagner. Wagner can conceivably win this league, I think. Zaire Williams, Delaney Hunt are good players for them. Fourth, I have St. Fran, PA. I don't like this team as much as others do. A couple forwards on this team, I like Josh Cohen and Miles Thompson. Fifth, St. Fran, Brooklyn. Don't like this team very much either. They have a couple guards I like, Rob Higgins and Larry Moreno. Sixth, I have Central Connecticut. They're going to be better than expected, I think. Two solid players, Nigel Scantlebury and Andre Snowdy, my bad. Seventh, Fairleigh Dickinson. This team was in the tournament several years ago, but they're really not relevant right now. Eighth, LIU. They're not good. And then ninth, Stonehill, who comes over from Division 2 to Division 1. All right, now we'll do the OVC. This is not a good league anymore with Belmont and Murray State going to Missouri Valley. So you ask me who's the dog in this league now? I'm going to say it's Morehead State. That's why I'm winning this league. They have a really good player in Mark Freeman. Coming in second, Tennessee Martin. They have who I think is going to be the player of the year in KJ Simon. Parker Stewart's not a bad player either. Coming in third, I have Tennessee State. this is a solid team. I think this team can actually win the league. Marcus Fitzgerald, Zion Griffin, Dedrick Boyd, Ty Perry. Actually, no, Ty Perry's not at Tennessee State. I meant to say Junior Clay. Fourth, I have Southeast Missouri State. They have some talent too. Chris Harris, Philip Russell. Fifth, I have Little Rock. I feel like the move to this conference is going to help Little Rock reestablish themselves after some rough years in the move from the Sun Belt. They have guys coming back that were injured last year, which should help. And sixth, I have SIU Edwardsville. They have two solid players, Rashawn Taylor and Dijon Pruitt. Seventh, Tennessee Tech. That's where Ty Perry comes in. I screwed up the team for that player for a second there. Eighth, I have Southern Indiana. They come over from Division II. Jelani Simmons is their best player. Ninth, Eastern Illinois. They're never good in this league. And then the bottom, Lindenwood, who is obviously new to Division I as well. Next up is the Patriot League. This league has had some turnover in terms of who's good and who's not good in this league over the past several years. First, I have Colgate. That's a no-brainer for me. Colgate's the best team in this league, hands down. Tucker Richardson is by far the best player in this conference. It's not even close. Coming in second, I have Boston University. I think this is a program in this league that's on the rise, led by Walter White, who I think is really good. Coming in third, I have Navy. I think Navy is going to be pretty decent this year in the Patriot League. They're a good defensive team, and they have not good scoring, but like balanced scoring. In fourth, I have Lehigh. Lehigh's had some down years lately. Evan Taylor, the senior guard, is going to lead the way for them. Coming in fifth, I have Army. I think Army could be pretty good. I like their guard, Jalen Rucker. Coming in sixth, I have Loyola, Maryland. Loyola, I think, has a chance to be better than something. Jalen Andrews is somebody to watch. Seventh, I have American. American could be a team on the up. They have Ben Lambarski coming back from injury. Coming in eighth, I have Bucknell. Oh boy, talk about a program that's fallen on hard times. That's crazy. Ninth, Lafayette. Lafayette had a couple of moments over the past several years. New coach, Fran O'Hanlon's gone after 27 years. Great run there. And then in the cellar, of course, is Holy Cross. Holy Cross is always the worst team in this league. Although they did not finish last year, which is crazy to me. All right, next up is the SoCon. This is a really, really, really good league. I think anybody in my projected top 4 can conceivably win this league. That's how good I think this league is. Coming in first, I have Furman. I like this Furman team. They're deep. They have a couple fifth-year players I like. Mike Bothwell and Jalen Slauson. Coming in second, I have Samford. Samford's going to be good, too. They're very deep. Logan Dye, Quez Glover, Bubba Parham. Coming in third, I have Chattanooga. They have who I think is going to be the player of the year, Jake Stevens, who is the grad student center. Coming in fourth, I have UNC Greensboro. They're an interesting team. They're a program that's had some success over the past several years. Year 2 under Mike Jones. They get the UMBC transfer, Keandre Kennedy. Fifth, I have Wofford. Wofford's had some success over the past several years. I think they take a little bit of a step back. Messiah Jones and BJ Mack, 2 good players that they have. Sixth, I have East Tennessee State. They have a good junior guard in Jordan King. Seventh, I have Mercer. Mercer's not usually relevant in this league. In this league, I think they're going to be good. 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 Th So, not much to say about them. Western Carolina, I have 8th. I feel like they're a team that picks off some Power 6 teams in bye games and are never heard from again. Ninth, the Citadel. The Citadel's never good. They're a team that I think is like a high-scoring kind of team, but are just allergic to defense. And in the cellar, of course, is VMI, who is always bad and lost so much of their team from last year. Okay, next up is the SWAC. SWAC is an interesting league. They're just a bunch of bad teams. I have winning this league Southern. It's funny because Texas Southern was the favorite in the preseason poll, but I'm going with Southern. They have Tyrone Lyons, really good player, and Bryson Etienne as well. Second, I have Texas Southern. They have some good players too. Carl Nicholas and John Walker III. Coming in third, I have Alcorn State. Alcorn, I think, could be a little better than people think. They have 2 good players, Dominic Bruton and Keandre Montgomery. Fourth, Prairie View. Prairie View A&M. Kind of been good in that league the last couple years. Jeremiah Gramble is a decent player for them. Fifth, Florida A&M. I think that they might make a little bit of an improved jump. Again. But they lose MJ Randolph, which stinks. Sixth, Jackson State. Jackson State is a program that wants to be rock stars. They have Deion Sanders as their football coach, and now Mo Williams as their basketball coach, which I think is pretty cool. Seventh, Grambling. Grambling was in the tournament not that long ago. I want to say it was like 2018, 2019 range. They were 16 team. I vaguely remember that. Cameron Christian's a name to know on that team. Eighth, Bethune-Cookman. Joe French is a really good player. He might make that team better than they are. Ninth, Alabama A&M. They have a good player in Garrett Hicks. 10th, Alabama State, who isn't any great shakes. And, of course, in the cellar, Arkansas Pine Bluff, who's probably the worst team in college basketball. Southland. Some turnover in this conference for sure. And winning this conference, I have Nichols. Nichols is an interesting team. They were not picked in the preseason polls, A&M Corpus Christi. But I'm going with Nichols, who I think is better than Corpus Christi. They're really good defensively, and then they get the UAB transfer, Josh LeBlanc. In second, Texas A&M Corpus Christi. They're in the first 4 last year, and they bring everybody back, so that's the case for them. Third, New Orleans. New Orleans isn't bad. They're sometimes decent in this league. They lose Derek St. Hilaire, which is tough to replace. In fourth, I have Southeastern Louisiana. They're a program who loses a lot from last year, which stinks. Fifth, Northwestern State. There's an interesting freshman that they have, Hansel Emmanuel, who is a one-armed player. Let's root for him to do good. Sixth, I have McNeese. They have good guard depth, and they're going to be fast, so maybe they're a little better than expected. In seventh, I have Houston Christian, formerly known as Houston Baptist. Coming in eighth, Texas A&M Commerce. So there's 2 Texas A&Ms in this conference, and then there's Texas A&M in the SEC. Ninth, Lamar. So Lamar's still in this conference. They only won 2 games last year and bring 2 guys back. And then in the cellar is Incarnate Word, who ended up staying in Southland after rumors that they were going to leave to go to the WAC. Okay, and now we're going to do a much better league, and that is the Summit League. In first in this league, I have Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts was a team that obviously won an NCAA tournament game in 2021, I believe it was. And were they in the Sweet 16? I feel like they were. I feel like they were in the Sweet 16. They have some good players coming back. Max Abmas, who I think is going to be the player of the year. Isaiah McBride is pretty good as well. Coming in second in this league, South Dakota State. They're usually a perennial contender in this league. Luke Appel, Zeke Mayo. Coming in third, I have South Dakota. They're deep. This team is deep. They can potentially win the league. Mason Archambault, AJ Pudzwiat, and Cruz Parat Hunt, all good players. Fourth, North Dakota State. North Dakota State's usually a football school, but they have some good basketball players too. Grant Nelson is a good player for them. Fifth, Denver. Denver's going to be a little bit better this year. Tevin Smith's a good player, sophomore guard. Sixth, Kansas City, formerly known as UMKC. Now they're going by Kansas City, which is interesting. A lot of freshmen on this team. Seventh, Western Illinois. Western Illinois has a really good senior guard in Trenton Massner. That's really it. Eighth, Omaha. Omaha, this one might bite me in the ass. I feel like they might be better than my ranking. I like Frankie Fiddler. One of the fun names in the sport this year. Ninth, St. Thomas. I don't like this St. Thomas team at all. Still in the transition of coming to Division I. And 10th, North Dakota, who is not very good whatsoever. Easily the worst team in this conference. Next up is the Sun Belt. The Sun Belt, I think, is going to be better than people think this year. I really do. Loaded league. Coming in first, I have Louisiana. I like this Louisiana team a lot. The favorites in this league, obviously. The player that I think is going to be the player of the year, Jordan Brown. They have a lot of other good players too. Kobe Julian. Also, coming in second, James Madison. Yes, coming over from the Colonial. I think this transition to the Sun Belt is going to be majestical for them. I really do. Just like the college football transition's gone well, to begin the year at least. But, so, I think that JMU's going to have an easy transition in basketball. They have Vado Morsay. They have other talented players as well. Third, Texas State. Texas State, I think, could be good. I like Mason Harrell. He's a good player. Fourth, I have South Alabama. This team's actually pretty deep. They could finish second league. Kevin Samuel, Greg Parham the second. Coming in fifth, I have Georgia State. Georgia State's been a perennial team in this league for a while now. We all remember that they upset Baylor in the tournament with their coach, Ron Hunter, falling off the chair. Now Ron Hunter's with Tulane. We talked about that in the part 2 of the podcast. So Dwan Odom, transfer from Xavier, comes in. I think he'll help that team. Coming in sixth, I have Marshall. Dan D'Antoni, the brother of Mike D'Antoni, is their coach. Dan's done a nice job in Marshall. He has some depth on this team. Maybe they're better than I think. Tavion Kinsey, Camden Kerfman, and Andrew Taylor, all good players. Seventh, App State. App State, I don't think is that terrible either. Donovan Gregory's a really good player. Eighth, Coastal Carolina. They have a good player in Hassan Mustafa, the big man. Ninth, Old Dominion. Old Dominion comes over from Conference USA with Marshall, but I don't know if they're going to have as much of success as Marshall in basketball. But Ben Staley's a player that comes over from Hampton, and went to Xavier that I think could be interesting for them. 10th, Troy. I don't think Troy's going to be any good. Zay Williams is going to keep them in games, though. 11th, Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern's not really a great basketball program. 12th, Arkansas State. Caleb Fields isn't a bad player. He'll keep them in games. 13th, Southern Miss. Felipe Haase might keep them out of the bottom two, maybe even out of the bottom three. I could be completely wrong on this. And then in the cellar, UL Monroe. They have a good player, Nika. What's this last name? Miksharavili. That's a tough name to pronounce. Hopefully I got that right. And last but not least, in terms of conferences, the WAC. I think the WAC might actually be pretty decent this year. The team I have winning this conference is Grand Canyon. They're the runaway favorites in the preseason poll. They have the person who I think is going to be the player of the year in Javon Blackshear Jr. They have a lot of depth around him. Rayshawn Harrison and Gabe McLaughlin, a really solid junior player. Second, New Mexico State. They're usually the team to beat in this conference, but I don't think that this year. They lose their coach, which stinks. Xavier Pinson's back for them. Coming in third, I have Stephen F. Austin. They come over from the Southland. They've had tournament success in the past. I like their coach, Kyle Keller. And they have a couple good players in Sadarin Hall and Jalen Jackson Posey. Coming in fourth, I have Abilene Christian. They won a tournament game a couple years ago. Now they're also in the WAC. Arion Simmons, good player. Fifth, I have Cal Baptist. They're a team that I think is interesting. Teron Armstrong is going to be a good player for them. Coming in sixth, I have Utah Valley. They have some talent as well. Trey Woodbury, the guard from, who's a senior, will lead the way for them. Coming in seventh, I have Seattle. Cam Tyson, Riley Grigsby, good players on that team. Coming in eighth, I have Sam Houston. They have a good senior guard in Javion May. Coming in ninth, I have Southern Utah, who comes over from the Big Sky. I think it's going to be a little bit of a tough transition for them. They'll be a player in this conference down the road. Tavion Jones, good versatile player for them. Mason Fawcett, good player as well. Coming in 10th, I have Tarleton. This conference is all of a sudden really big. Freddie Hicks is a player to watch, versatile wing player. Coming in 11th, I have Texas Arlington. They come over from the Sun Belt. It's weird that they're not in the Sun Belt anymore. They have a good scorer in David Azor. Coming in 12th, I have Utah Tech, formerly known as Dixie State, but they changed their name to Utah Tech. And in the cellar, I have Texas Rio Grande Valley. The player that might keep them out of the cellar is Justin Johnson. And we have two independents before we close the team section in this podcast. Hartford is going to Division III. They're going to be terrible. It's ridiculous because they were in the tournament a few years ago, and they're moving down to Division III. And they have a good coach in John Gallagher. And the other independent team is Chicago State, who actually wasn't terrible in WAC play last year. They upset New Mexico State, but they're going out of Division I as well. So we just wanted to give those two teams a shout before we close this part of the podcast. All right, best player among the 22 teams. I really like Darius McGee at Liberty. And I also really like Jordan Walker at UAB. So there's your co-best players in those 22 leagues. And a bold prediction. Let's go with something fun. I'm going to say Rick Pitino leaves Iona for a better job. I think Iona's going to have a good year. They'll make the tournament. Somebody's going to get desperate and hire Rick Pitino. And there you go. And I don't know how the social media world will react when Rick Pitino gets a better job, but I think it will happen. And he'll leave Iona for a better job. Maybe somewhere in the Atlantic 10, maybe even somewhere in one of the Power 6 schools. I think it's going to be in one of the Power 6 schools or one of the 4 high majors, whether it's the Atlantic 10, which I think is pretty realistic, could be the Atlantic 10. Mountain West, I don't know if he'd want to be in the same conference as his brother Richard. I don't think he wants to go to the WCC. Or maybe the American. I feel like he would fit well in the American. Like if, let's say Tulsa was open or something like that. Or maybe Wes Miller does so good with Cincinnati, he bounces for a better job. And then Rick goes to Cincinnati or something like that. So I could see Rick Pitino bouncing from Iowa. Let's make that the bold prediction. All right, so have it for the end of a long part 3. Part 4 will be next.